This right here is an actual chunk of metal that was attached to it, and I really hope there's nothing wrong with the transmission.
Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Waldo, and the goal of this video is to wrap up the last few things on this Cummins swapped project truck so that I can bring it for its first drive. This is Billy Bob, my 95 GMC C3500HD. I paid $300 for this truck, essentially saving it from being scrapped. This project has turned into a full-on resto mod, complete with a paint job, a custom gauge pod, custom headliner, and leather bucket seats. The engine is a 24-valve 5.9 Cummins out of a Dodge Ram. The transmission is a 5-speed Eaton Fuller out of a medium-duty Freightliner. The goal is to end up with a heavy-duty truck for towing and hauling future projects. There's been a lot of welding, a lot of cutting, and, shall we say, a lot of persuading.
Oh yeah, here we go.
We are about to hit the 10,000 subscriber milestone, and I'd like to celebrate by doing an Ask Me Anything. So, ask me anything you want down in the comments below, and when we reach the milestone, I'll release a video answering your questions. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Now is your chance to get in before we hit the milestone. Now, the first thing I want to do is change the transmission oil. I bought the transmission used on eBay, and while the transmission was stated to be in working condition, the contents of the transmission are in unknown condition. So just to be safe, we're going to change out the fluid and make sure there's no water in there or anything like that that could damage the transmission. Now, Eaton, the manufacturer of the transmission, recommended that you use their special Road Ranger transmission fluid. However, I was unable to find any for a reasonable price, so they also say that if you don't use that, you can use a 50-weight oil instead with a reduced drain interval. So I'm going to be using this, the Lucas 50-weight heavy-duty transmission lubricant. Apparently it's meant for truck transmissions like this one, and I'm going to be observing a 50,000-mile drain interval as recommended by Eaton.
Alright, so here we have the transmission. We have the drain plug down here. We have the fill plug up here. So let's get to it. Alright, and that oil actually looks pretty good. I didn't see any water come out. And I don't know, are these magnets or something built onto this plug? Kind of looks like it. Yeah, so there was a fair amount of metal on this magnet. This right here is an actual chunk of metal that was attached to it. We're just going to try driving it, and I really hope there's nothing wrong with the transmission, but there's only one way to find out. I've decided that I'm going to remove this cover here so I can take a look inside and just make sure that there aren't any bigger pieces of metal sitting at the bottom of the transmission. Yeah, so everything looks like it is in excellent shape. I don't see any issues. The gears look great. I don't see any junk on the bottom of the oil pan there. So I don't think that there are any issues here. Maybe someone just ground one of the gears and it took a little chunk off, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. You know, I'm getting ready to drop about $2,200 on a new differential and new gears to change the gearing of the rear end. And if I was about to have to rebuild this transmission, that would have been a pretty major setback, so I'm really glad that everything looks okay here. All right, I have put a whole gallon in so far, so pretty soon I expect it to start coming out the fill hole. All right, that's full. Yeah, so the manual is very clear that it's not full until oil starts coming out the fill hole. Another note is that I also leveled the vehicle, so I ended up having to jack up the passenger side of the vehicle up several inches just to make sure that it's level, because that makes sure the transmission has the right amount of oil when the level reaches the bottom of the fill hole.
So with the transmission all set, it's now time to finish up the cooling system. That means installing the radiator right here behind the intercooler and hooking up the radiator hoses, and then we will also do the heater hoses as well. There we go. Got some nice new radiator hoses. They're even made in the USA. So this one is a really good fit. Both of the radiator hoses that I'm using are intended for the Dodge, and because I figured I'm using the Dodge engine and the Dodge radiator, that they'll probably fit, and in the case of this one, it does fit pretty well. So the lower radiator hose needs to be shortened by just a little bit, maybe an inch or so. Not too bad. Now the lower radiator hose does not fit very well. Now I made it fit, but it's not going to be good enough for any long drives. But luckily the purpose of this video is not to go on a long drive, it's to go on a short drive. So I'm going to end up having to make some custom radiator piping for this hose. Now installing the radiator fan and fan shroud needs to be done at the same time. It's a little tricky to do. Oh no, it is going to be a lot trickier with this hose here. Now for the heater hoses, we have the output here, we have the return here, and then here on the bottom we have, I think this is the input into the heater core and the output onto the heater core. I'm making that assumption because this one is a little bit bigger. This hose here came from the GMC, so I'm just kind of repurposing it for this. This wouldn't be complete without some zip ties to hold everything together. Four gallons of fluid and we are just about at the top. I mounted the power steering cooler right here temporarily to the intercooler bracket, and that'll work for now until I have a chance to install the AC condenser, and at that point I'll create a permanent bracket for both the AC condenser and the power steering cooler, but for now this will do just fine. What do you say we get the rest of these body panels installed, do a little reveal, and then try driving it? And here it is. I was really looking forward to seeing how it looked with the painted grille and, well, lower grille as well, and the bumper, and just having everything all installed. And I think it looks pretty good. Now, it's not 100% installed yet. I haven't done the mirrors yet, and I haven't done the little pieces down here. I'll get to that. And I'll also do a full walk around once we get it out of the shop. So let's do that. Let's drive it out of here.
All right, so here we go. This is the moment of truth. Now, if I do this, it shouldn't start because I haven't pressed the clutch in. Let's just wait until the wait to start light turns off. All right. Yep, nothing. That's good. I wired the clutch switch in to the ignition wire. All right, here we go. Steering though, so that's going to be tricky. Let's put it in reverse. See if we can back up. It's a little tight in here. It is working. All right. Nice. Okay, first gear. Oh, turn this wheel. We're just gonna go for it. Here we go. Second gear. All right. Oh my God, this feels really good, except for the lack of power steering. It feels great. Got a tight spot here. Let's not ruin my truck. Used to first being down there. Let's go first. And we are already stuck. Let's back up and get some momentum. We got no weight on the back and an open differential, so these wheels like to spin. Let's just start in second gear. Very nice.
Well, that went fairly well. Nothing blew up. The transmission was flawless. The only issue was that it was a bit of a bear to steer and to stop without power steering and power brakes, but that's definitely an issue I will look into and fix later on. And just look at it. It's magnificent. One thing I really like about the look of this truck is the tall front end, which is necessary because of the gigantic frame it has. GM added a 4-inch tall lower radiator grille to fill in the gap, and when painted to match the body color, it looks amazing. So coming up next, I'm going to be installing some modern GM style towing mirrors on the truck, which should complete the look of the truck. After that, I'm going to be getting to the custom skirted flatbed build, which is going to look amazing. Thank you so much to all of you who recommended colors to paint the flatbed. I think an overwhelming majority of you recommended that I match the body color, which is actually not something that I was planning on doing. However, now I am planning on doing that because I think it's going to look really good. Don't forget to subscribe to follow along with these projects, and thank you so much for watching.